Hello YouTube, it is your boy GZTV, back with another video, and we are here with the 2001 English language, Spanish, Gothic, supernatural, psychological horror film, written, directed, and scored by Alejandro Amenabar. We have The Others. Decently iconic, decent amount of people talk about it. Really interesting movie, really interesting twist throughout. We're going to talk about this, give you guys the plot, the critical reception, kind of what I'm thinking about it, and that'll be the video. So getting into the plot, this movie takes place in 1945, where Grace Stewart resides in a remote country house in Jersey, a Channel island formerly occupied by the Germans, with her two young children, Anne and Nicholas. So we're kind of setting up with some basic characters at the start. There's just these three people that live together. Both children suffer from a severe sensitivity to light. Like if they go out, they'll have like this allergic reaction, and like the light rays will like burn their skin, I guess. I don't know if that's an actual condition. I feel like, I don't know. I'd have to look into that, but people might actually have something like that. Sorry, I got the hiccups, but holy fuck. So because of their photosensitivity, which is what it's called, Grace keeps the home darkened with large curtains. So one day, a housekeeper, Mrs. Bertha Mills, gardener Edmund Tuttle, and a mute girl named Lydia arrive, all seeking employment. They're all seeking to be like the nannies, the maids, the gardeners, all that type of stuff. They're trying to take care of these people, for a living, just for a little bit of extra bread, They need that money, so... This is during the World War, so there's some interesting historical context why the husband hasn't been there for a while. But yeah, so Grace hires them and is pleased to learn the three worked in the same house years prior. So it's like, well, they kind of know the ropes, they kind of know what they're supposed to do, like their expectations. So yeah, Anne claims to be regularly visited by a young boy named Victor, his parents, and an elderly blind woman. So this is where the movie obviously starts to get like its horror element. Like, there's this high power kind of like going around the house, and yeah, but there's an interesting plot twist. The story kind of flips itself on its head here. It's really interesting how they handle this. So Grace believes this to be a fantasy, but after she begins hearing footsteps and disembodied voices herself, she orders the house to be searched, believing there are intruders. So she's trying to get the maid and the gardener and all of them, like, we gotta look around this house, see if we can see anything suspicious happening, because we're experiencing some weird action going on here, so we gotta kind of look around and examine. Yeah, so in a storage room, she finds a 19th century photo album containing photographs of corpses, which was a tradition people used to do. There used to be like a photo album to commemorate the dead, where you'd post a picture of a corpse in there. Obviously, that wouldn't fly today because that's fucking psychotic looking, but yeah. So Mrs. Miller recounts that many left in 1981 due to an outbreak of 1891, due to an outbreak of tuberculosis. So, yeah, this house has been kind of deserted from workers and all that for a long time. It seems that for all of Anne and her or all of Grace and her children's lives, they've just kind of been living there. Maybe a couple maids here and there, but yeah. So Grace begins to fear that there are supernatural entities in the home, but struggles to reconcile such things with her rigid Catholic faith. Like, some people have super strict faiths, like they refuse to believe in stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know if I personally, like, it's kind of controversial. I don't know if I personally believe in stuff like this, but if it happened, I guess I'd be open to it, open to believing in it. I don't know, bro. So, yeah, so moving on, at night, Grace witnesses a piano playing itself and becomes convinced that the house is haunted. But again, when you look back and you look at the plot twist that they executed pretty well here, you see, wow, this is kind of crazy to think about. She runs outside in search of the local priest to bless the house and instructs Tuttle to check the nearby cemetery to see if a family has been buried there. Which is funny because how ironic is this? The entire time these people have been trying to hide their own graves from the family. We'll kind of get to the twist as we get throughout the film. Tuttle covers the gravestones with leaves at the order of Mrs. Mills, and you're kind of sitting there like, why the hell did they do this? Why did they cover the graves? And then you kind of start to get these hints, this little bit of short foreshadowing, like, okay, there's something kind of wild going on here. So Grace runs into her husband Charles. She like goes into this foggy wood area and finds her husband, kind of plot convenient, whom she thought had been killed in the war. So Charles acts very distant during a short stay at the house, presumably suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of his service in the war. That's obviously super understandable. So then one day, Grace checks on Anne playing. To her horror, she instead finds an old woman wearing her daughter's communion dress, which is fucking weird. And again, it's so weird, looking back at the plot twist and like seeing how all this connects. It's like, wow, that's fucking strange. So the old woman talks in Anne's voice. So how the fuck did that happen? Did she get possessed? I don't know. So Grace attacks the old woman only to find that she has inadvertently attacked her own daughter, thinking it is these like spirits because she's haunted and she's feeling like paranoid about the whole thing. So Charles informs Grace he must return to the front, rejecting her insistence that the war is over. He's got to return. He's like, what? He's going off for no fucking reason because I'm pretty sure by 45, historically speaking, the war was over. So, yeah. But the next morning, Charles departs, and Grace is horrified to find all the curtains in the house have been removed, exposing Anne and Nicholas to the sunlight. How fucking evil is that? That's kind of like, it's kind of funny when you're watching it because it's like, damn, it's kind of fucked up. It's like funny. I don't know. I was kind of laughing, and I was like, it's kind of fucking savage. But like at the time, I thought a spirit was doing this, but it's like, no, the actual homeowners just didn't want to have curtains in their house because they were getting closed on their own to like, yeah. I don't know. So she accuses the servants of doing this and expels them from the house. Like, your services are done. You get out of here. So that night, the children discover that the headstones in the cemetery belong to the trio of servants. And at this moment, this is like the big kind of climax to the film. This is when everything kind of changes. And they flee when they see the servants approaching them. It's like, these aren't actual fucking people. These are dead people. And it just kind of starts stacking onto each other. You kind of get these crazy revelations that unravel throughout the end of the film. Grace finds a photograph of the corpses of Mrs. Mills, Tuttle, and Lydia, who all perished during the tuberculosis outbreak. And it's kind of funny how they were kind of mentioning that earlier. Like, yeah, everyone just kind of left because of the tuberculosis outbreak. Mrs. Mills tells Grace to talk to the intruders. These are the people that are intruding. And I guess to an extent to like even the spirit after we find out what these people actually are. Maybe they are kind of intruders or like intruding upon their legacy, their family history. I don't know. So Grace discovers that the elderly blind woman is in fact a medium holding a seance with Victor's parents. And a medium is like it's pretty much a person that helps you like connect with spirits and stuff like that. I don't really believe in all that stuff, but just for the purpose of the horror film, we're just gonna run with it. But yeah, they've discovered via automatic writing that Grace, despondent after Charles died in the war, smothered her children to death with a pillow before committing suicide. And now these people kind of haunt the house. They're not really haunting people. Yeah, she killed their children. So aghast, Grace, in a twist, realizes that the others in the house are the living family that moved into their house, and that, like the servants, she, Anne, and Nicholas are the ghosts, the ones who are dead. It's fucking, it's a really cool thing. It really reminds me of a movie like The Orphanage, I will tell you, but like that twist is so crazy to me. That is just crazy. So embracing her children, Grace admits to her act of murder-suicide. I guess it's all coming back to her. She had awoken afterward and believed the event to have been a nightmare, which that doesn't make sense. But following the supernatural activity in the house caused by Grace and her children, Victor and his family move out. They realize we can't be living with this. It's just a fucking nuisance to our life. And Anne and Nicholas realize they're no longer afflicted by the sunlight as they had been in life. They're spirits, right? The house goes up for sale again, and Mrs. Mills informs the stewards that they will have to learn to cohabit with the living residents because they want to see this place get its legacy kind of carried on for generations. Grace ominously states that the house is only theirs. No, fuck that. She realizes, no, this is our legacy to uphold. We're holding up this history. This is our home. We're not going to let anyone come through, tarnish it, disrespect it, take the curtains down, for crying out loud. Yeah, it's really interesting. I think we can just get to the review. It's a pretty good movie. I mean, getting into the review here, the performances were great. I mean, that's really the central thing. Like, Nicole Kidman did it well. this was a pretty solid movie. I mean, The Others is a spooky thriller that reminds us that a movie doesn't need expensive special effects to be creepy. Just once all this stuff kind of piles up throughout the end, it's like, wow, this is kind of an insane film. Yeah, it's just good. I mean, Alejandro Amenabar has the patience to create a languorous, dreamy atmosphere, and Nicole Kidman succeeds in convincing us that she is a normal person in a disturbing situation and not just a standard issue horror movie hysteric, you know. In drawing out his effects, Amenabar is a little too confident that style can substitute for substance. That might be a little bit of an issue, but I overall think this is a pretty solid movie. Obviously, it reminds me of The Orphanage a lot. If you've seen that movie, I mean, obviously you've seen this too if you're watching me do a spoiler review. But yeah. So, shot in oppressive sepia amid near darkness, Grace's children having a rare ailment that precludes exposure to sunlight. It really made for a cool, effective kind of aura, kind of like this interesting environment for this movie. Amenabar racks up the tension to unbearable levels. I mean, the film's confident and controlled. Absence makes the heart beat faster. The absence of light, the corporeal absence of loved ones. Shrewdly cast. Kidman is amazing in this movie. It's a clammy, ingenious film. One of the best studio movies probably for its time. It's very effective. I mean, Kidman's performance, it's just amazing. She has thrown herself into her role as if it were Lady Macbeth on the London stage with formidable results. Though Kidman doesn't hesitaate to make Grace high-strung, as tightly wound as they come, she also projects vulnerability and courage when they're called for. She does everything that's necessary. She does everything that's required out of a role like this to make a good movie. It's an intense, involving performance, and it dominates and energizes a film that would be lost without it. She is really just carrying this film. She's amazing. The film deals primarily with the spiritual interaction of ghosts with each other rather than with human beings. I mean, it was definitely inspired. There's definitely some inspiration from other films that don't kind of involve spirits, and obviously that do involve spirits, like The Orphanage. Really dope movie. I really enjoyed it. It does remind me of a couple of other movies, but it has a kick to it. It definitely has its special thing. It definitely has a uniqueness to it. You definitely think of this movie if you've watched it and you're like, oh, well, Nicole Kidman was amazing. Oh, well, the twists were pretty damn good in this thing. So that's always great to get out of a movie. I don't really have anything too bad to say about it. It was a decently fun movie. I think tomorrow, actually, I will be watching the Sinister original film because I watched the second one on accident for a review, and now I'm just going to watch the first one. Kind of excited about that, though. I'm out, guys.